All right, so we're back with Tiffany.
Okay.
All right, let me put this.
Quick break.
Yeah, just a quick break. I've astral projected.
Tell me.
So you know those CIA documents that came out?
Yes.
Stuff like that. So
Yes.
they released the tapes.
Yes.
And so that is the training grounds of astral projecting.
So you read that and was able to, not to take over your podcast and start asking you questions, but
Ask me questions. This is conversation.
but
back and
still,
forth.
so you read that and were able to learn the tricks.
Yeah.
Because within those documents is also like remote viewing
Well,
and different things like
it's
that.
the tapes that they released. So
Oh,
it's an
okay.
audio tape.
Where'd you find those?
I can't remember.
Like online?
Online somewhere.
Everywhere. Everything's online.
Yeah. I have them if you want them. So you just train in that. And the things that it trains you in is like, one, securing your energy protective bubble. Right.
That's important.
That's important, especially if you're dealing with other spirits and stuff like that. You want to make sure you're protected. But I remember astral projecting to, it's hard to describe, but it's almost like a funnel. And it's like this opening that goes into like another dimension almost.
Okay.
And so when I was doing it, one time I astral projected and I saw it was outside. I don't know where I was.
Yeah.
It almost seemed like the 1700s or something like that.
Ooh.
But it was this big mansion. And then I went into the mansion and I was in the corner of a dining room, like up in the corner of the room. And like I saw within and I saw a big long table, food, and then one man at the end of it, old white man, dressed in old clothing. And he was just sitting there. And then he just looked up in the corner to me. And I was like, and then I just astral projected
Did you
back.
know who it was?
No, I don't know who that guy is. This old white man from the 1700s or something like that.
Obviously rich, because back then,
Yeah, definitely rich.
not everybody had full tables of food.
Yeah, yeah.
I wonder if it was like someone of a named person
I don't know.
who's also very tapped in. If he was able to like kind of see you there or
Sure.
feel your presence.
I guess so. He was by himself, and he was long white beard and all that stuff.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Did
So-
you like, as you were in the room, did you feel like you had all of your senses and capabilities? Like,
Yeah, for sure. And it comes to me in the funnel. Like if I close my eyes, some people just see pitch black, but
Yeah.
for me, I see almost like clouds, like being in the clouds
like naturally.
naturally.
So when you go to sleep, it's not.
It's not like full pitch black.
You,
It's
you
like,
feel like you're already like your body's already kind of like doing what it needs to do to
yeah.
whatever
And then,
it does while you sleep.
and if I really want to astral project, then it almost seems like those clouds like form a circle, and it's almost like I'm traveling through the circle.
Wow.
Because they say like time travel happens when time is moving through you. You don't move through time.
Also, time isn't real.
Right.
Well, at least how we perceive time.
Right. Yeah, true. Or space travel, I guess you could say. So yeah, those are the kind of things that you work on. You work on elevating yourself up, and then you're back down into your body and stuff like that. And, yeah.
Have you ever astral projected and felt like you wouldn't come back into yourself? Like, have you ever was too far out there, I guess?
No.
Okay.
No. I think it's because of that energy protective bubble.
I feel like that's really important
Yeah.
because that's the whole part of spiritualness that I feel like is more glorified. Everyone always talks about like, oh, I see demons or spirits, ghosts.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that's the Hollywood aspect of it.
Right.
So everyone always talks about that space, but just energetically, you're interacting with energetically different things.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's always good for you to be safe
Always.
in that.
Yeah. I think so. And that's something that I've always worried about, like dealing with spirits and stuff like that. I was like, I'm afraid to practice that kind of thing because I don't want a demonic spirit
100%.
or something
Hey,
like that.
we don't play with that.
Yeah. And so, but the more I grow in it, the more I'm like, okay, maybe I should try it. I'm scared to do it at my house, but somewhere else.
You don't want to open anything up.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think I should do more research. I haven't done the research. But like just that energy protective bubble, I think would make the difference between not being afraid of the things that come your way, and always knowing that it's going to be a good spirit or something.
That it's going to be okay.
Because it's always energy based, right?
It is.
You walk into a room, you got bad vibes.
And the thing is that no one tells you when you start to get an energy is those bad, like you don't just have bad vibes. Like that frequency that you're feeling, it means something. Like your body is telling you something, or you subconsciously are telling yourself like this is not safe.
Yeah.
If it's a bad vibe place.
Exactly.
Versus if it's a good vibe place, you're like, okay, I'm good here. Like I'm good here. And people, even if they aren't, I would say, spiritually in tune, people get vibes.
Yeah.
Listen to those vibes.
Right.
Your own intuition is going to tell you, oh, this is not the safest space.
Right.
Because I remember in Vegas, it was during like a big snowstorm. I had like a work thing I had to do. So I was there with my brother. We were walking around Vegas and we went into Planet Hollywood, and we both just got this large sense of dread. We didn't say anything to each other. We just were walking in. I felt it. Unbeknownst to me, he also felt it. So we're like, let's just keep walking. Let's leave. Nothing against Planet Hollywood. I'm sure it's a great place. It's just happened to be where we were.
Yeah.
And we walk outside, and I was like, I didn't feel good walking into there. He was like, yeah, me neither. I felt it too. And again, now I have words for these things, but at the time I was like, well, I'm glad that I had that like inner alarm system, because who knows? Maybe something was going to happen. Who knows? Yeah. Maybe it was going to be fine, but whatever it was, we weren't supposed to be in there at that time.
Yeah, that's true. Because I've experienced spirits, and I've never felt bad, and there's never any bad energy. Yeah. And so it was only like a couple times that it was, and I've listened to that. Right. So, but like, one time, like I was at my parents' house, and I saw my dog went like that and looked at me. It was like, look at me.
Animals know.
Yeah, they do.
Animals know.
So I took a camera and I snapped photos. And then on one of the photos, there was an orb. And I was like, oh. But I never felt bad. I was just.
That's always, yeah.
Yeah. So it was always, deal with it.
Yeah. Yeah. This is the thing. Animals now, also like little kids now. Like before you're at the age of which you're like, okay, it's not cool for me to be knowing these things, and you kind of close yourself off to it. They're very aware. So if like a kid is looking in the corner somewhere, I'm always like, what are you saying? What's going on? Is it good?
Your kids ever experience something like that?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
But I think also having a mom that's like in tune and more aligned, like I think a lot of it can be genetic based. Like, so when it comes to certain gifts and things, I think, especially you have to think they're coming from my womb. So if I'm spiritually inclined and have a level of discernment and knowing, I also have to give space for my space for my kids to also, maybe they also have a little bit of that too, because I said, like, for me, it was at a very young age.
Gotcha.
Where I was like, I know a little bit more than what I maybe should. And I would always just tell my mom. I was like, Mom, I just had this dream, or like, or I would like ask her about things that I at the time didn't have the vocabulary for, but I'm like saying these words. I remember one time I was like, Mom, like, what does the word finance mean? Because I keep hearing finances and different things, but like, what is a finance? And she explained it. So it's a lot of stuff like that. So interesting. Knowing I had those experiences, I give space for my kids to be my kids, but also being cognizant that there could be a little something extra there. So if they're, all kids are afraid of the dark after a certain point. Sure. They've become afraid of the dark or monsters under the bed. And I do my mom thing, going in, checking places, but I'm also very clear of like, okay, if you're not here for the good of my kids, we don't play that here. Right.
So it's interesting. You never really delved into exploring the whole dream thing that you have.
So for me, dreams can be like, a lot of people say, oh, it came to me in a dream. Sure. I knew that in a dream. I would say I'm more like that. Like,
but you never like, ooh, maybe there's something there. Let me train or do something to. Gotcha. Like lucid dreaming, right?
Yeah. And there's things that like now that I'm older and I, Google and Reddit, I'll look things up, but I haven't, when I was young, there wasn't words for it. It was just like high discernment. It was you know things. In the church world, you're a prophetess. So you know things before other people, or you're able to tell things or be able to kind of predict things. And that was it. That was the only word you had for it. And I just kind of left it there. Because also at that age, it's a lot.
Right.
And
But
it can be a little scary.
But do you still have like dreams like that?
I do. I mean, I think now that I've embraced my gifts, I've embraced who I am. Yeah.
So I'm talking about more like as an adult, like now. Like you never really
I'll have dreams it won't be all the time.
Yeah.
Every time I go to sleep, I have regular stuff.
Sure.
But yeah, every now and then I'll have a dream where I wake up and be like,
You try to dissect that?
I will.
Yeah.
I will. And usually it'll come to me. The answers will come to me of what that was about, or sometimes, or it could be a feeling. It could be like, hey, you haven't talked to so and so friend in a while, and I may not have seen them. I may not have seen them in a while, but I can feel an energy of like, I don't know if they're doing well right now. Let me give them a call. So I'll have some of that, and I always hear like, girl, you called me at the right time. I was going through it, or whatever, and I'm like, yeah, I could kind of feel it. I could feel something was going on, but I didn't know what was going on, but I just wanted let you know I'm here. So I'll get some of that sometimes.
Energy has no space and time. It's all connected.
It reaches all. So yeah.
Interesting. So what's your experience on hypnosis then?
I've only read about it.
Oh, okay.
I'm open to it. I just have never done it.
Gotcha.
I feel like I need to be very clear about my space, who I let in it, because I'm a very energy person.
Sure.
Like when we talk about vibes and stuff, I'm serious about that. Like if I feel a bad vibe, our energies probably won't align. So I have to make sure whoever, because hypnosis means you're going into that trance-like state and allowing whatever is within you to come out.
Sure.
Based on what your hypnosis is. I got to make sure I'm in a space with someone who is trained to do it, but also I'm trusting of that, because it's almost like an energy share at that point.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like if you don't believe in something, if you're not open to it, it's not going to work for you.
Absolutely. Right? I mean, because hypnosis is a big thing within the therapy world. It's one of our modalities.
Right.
But you have to know what you're doing, because you can be going in and I don't want to say you're messing with someone's mind, but you have to be serious about your craft.
Sure. Yeah.
But also that person has to be open and receptive, because we as humans, if we don't want it as a part of our life, or we don't want to see it or be open to it, it won't be.
Yeah. Like you see these people that cluck as chicken and stuff like that after a hypnosis thing.
Yeah.
And they were open to that.
Yeah. Or like they start speaking. I've seen one guy on TikTok, he was like speaking in like a Martian language.
Yeah, I saw that one.
Yeah. Like, so, I mean, I don't think everyone's acting when they do that. I feel like there's some reality in that. I mean, it is, like I said, a modality used within therapy, but you have to do it right.
Yeah. Well, the thing about hypnosis is that it really just trains your subconscious mind. And that's why I actually started off with hypnosis first, and then I did meditation.
Wow.
Because I didn't know really how to meditate. And so hypnosis is pretty much a guided meditation. That's all it is. And so having someone guide me through some meditation is worked out better for me from the start. And
did you feel safer?
Yeah. And it was audio things that I found and stuff like that.
Yeah. There's a lot of those on YouTube.
Yeah. And you just got to find the one that works for you.
Correct.
There's a ladybug. I don't know what that was. It's a spirit.
But yeah, I mean, YouTube, I feel like if you're new to the spiritual world and you just like, I just want to meditate, they have a lot on there. You can find some good meditation.
Absolutely. Yeah, I found some good ones on there. But yeah, hypnosis is, that's something that I really wanted to fix, is my subconscious, because that's where the decisions, that's where everything comes from. And so if I could control that part, then I can work on the outer layer as well.
So was it a control thing?
I think it was a control thing, but because it was all over the place. And me wanting to break that generational trauma and all the healing that I've done I know the root of the making it work for me is the root of the problem is the subconscious, me telling myself that that I can heal and stuff like that, right? Because someone could be like, oh, I feel great, but on the inside they're not.
They're not. So your goal was to fix that inside.
Exactly.
To make sure if you feel great on the inside, you're great on the outside.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Yeah. It'll show on the outside.
Have you found healing in that?
I have. I found a lot of healing through that.
Really?
The majority of my healing was through that.
It was just doing that.
Yeah, doing hypnosis.
Really?
And stuff.
Explain that to me. I'm intrigued. Like, how was that healing in a way? Or like, how were you able to heal?
I guess it kind of really has to do with the law of attraction.
Okay.
Because you believe in something, and you want to truly believe it to a core.
Right.
And so with that, that's why I did hypnosis, and then that brought it out.
That's almost like, I mean, a keyword that a lot of people use nowadays is like the hot buzzword, manifestation.
Yeah.
But there's something to it. Like what your mind believes is really what will be. And I would say, we didn't touch on this, but like my foundation of therapy, there's actually a therapy modality called existential. And it's based on your mind.
Okay.
If you truly believe things are going to get better, you will start to do things in such a way that your life will start to improve.
Yep.
And that's kind of the foundation of, I would say, my therapy. I'm more of an existential therapist. If I can get you to start seeing the light is at the end of the tunnel, the light will be at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, exactly.
Because if you think it's going to just stay dark, you will stay in the dark place.
Yep.
And that's kind of how my foundation of therapy is. Because I always talk about like, oh, I'll do transformations and I'm gonna help you shift your energy, but it's really that. We're having conversations because I want to know your mental state, and I'm working to break those thoughts that aren't true.
Yeah.
Those thoughts that have no evidence behind them. You're telling yourself you're a horrible person, but what evidence do you have to show that you're a horrible person?
Right. Yeah. Bring it back to reality.
Yeah. So in doing that, you get someone to be like, oh, I'm actually not a horrible person because I've done da 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 da. But I haven't had time to think about the fact that I've done all of these amazing things.
Yeah. Exactly.
So there's something to it.
It all starts. I feel like it all starts from the subconscious.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anything, any problem you have, any good things that you have, it stems from the subconscious.
Subconscious, but then also a big one, how your parents talk to you about those things when you were a child, because that becomes your inner voice.
Yeah.
So if they were like critical, you're going to be a highly critical person. Even on your good stuff, you're going to be criticizing it.
Right.
Versus if you had parents that were more like, love it, I'm so grateful for you, everybody gets a trophy. Those types of parents, then, you kind of hear, that's your inner voice.
Yeah. Oh, I never thought about that.
So
but that's true. Yeah.
It be, as much as you intrinsically are motivated and want to do well, you also have to take into account your childhood, which is why I say a lot of things come back to your childhood. Yeah. In a way that you don't think.
Yeah. And for me, it started when I was 24. Like that's when I changed my life completely. I did 180.
Was there something that happened at 24 that made you pivot?
Yeah, everything was negative. I was rock bottom. I just every single thing was negative. I was closed off to the world. I would only go to work, home, work, home, work, home. And I would like look outside and be scared to go outside. And then my lease was up and I was living in Greensboro at the time. And I was like, man, I got to change. Something was telling me I need to do something. And so moved back to Raleigh. And actually I watched The Secret. That was the thing that did it for me.
That's a big one for people. I haven't watched The Secret, but one of my close friends did, and it was like life changing. Yeah,
that's what started it all. And so then I started learning about the law of attraction. Yeah, and I remember at that point, I couldn't communicate at all. I didn't know how to communicate. I didn't know socialize, all that stuff. Wow. And so I had to restart my life and relearn things. And I remember, I was learning all that, and then I met a new neighbor at my apartment complex that was moving in. Met him. He was in a band. We became good friends. He actually introduced me to the pickup artist stuff. And so with me, I was like, oh, interesting. Pickup artist has to do with communication. So let me learn about this. And
explain that to me. I'm not familiar with that term, pickup artist.
Someone who, in terms, learns how to talk to people, like say a male talking to a woman, and learning how to pick them up.
Oh, like with pickup lines and stuff like that.
Not just pickup lines, not really pickup lines, but
like
learning how to pick up women.
Yeah. Okay.
Pretty much.
Okay.
Is what I'm trying to say.
Gotcha.
But I took it as, let me learn how to communicate.
I mean, it is. Yeah.
And that's basically what you're doing. I mean, even women take
Yeah.
those courses,
Yeah.
and just to learn how to communicate with their bosses and stuff like that.
Communication's big.
So he was in a band, and he would go out and perform. I would go out with him, and my job, I made it a point to go around the room and just start talking to people, groups, singles, whatever it is. And that's how I learned how to communicate with people.
That's the best way to do it.
Yeah.
Very scary way to do it.
Very scary.
But that's the best way to do it.
There's some times where it's like,
Yeah.
So it's like all these things that could happen. But
wow. Okay.
Yeah. And so from there, just kept learning about the law of attraction. Then I got into like motivational speakers to kind of help me elevate the game and stuff like that. So
I mean, and now we're here.
Yeah.
Inspired Voices.
Exactly. So. But for me, communication and socializing is always going to be a thing I have to practice because it doesn't come to me naturally.
It doesn't come naturally.
Yeah.
But at least you know it.
True.
And so therefore you're going to hit it head on.
Yeah.
And that'll help you then when you have kids, because kids, I always say, they hear what you say, but it's really your actions. So
that's what I say. I'm like, it's the behaviors.
It's your behaviors. And you take it a step further, it's behaviors you don't think you're projecting out into the world. So they'll see that part, but then they'll also see you overcome that and just like, well, let me still communicate.
Yeah.
And that's going to be bigger for them than the piece of you that's like, oh, I don't want to be, front facing and speaking.
Right. Yeah.
They're going to be like, well, he still does it anyway and he does it great.
Right.
So I can do that. When I have a hard thing, I'm still going to do it.
Yeah. When you're not looking and you react to a certain way to things, that's what they're going to remember.
That is the thing that they're paying attention to, which again, the mental load of all of that.
Right.
That's a lot.
They're always watching.
Yeah, they're always watching.
Yeah.
And it's the stuff that you don't think, because you have to think when you were a kid, you were always watching. You were picking up on stuff. So when I hear people like, oh, I'm staying together for the baby, I'm like, don't do that. Because if you guys aren't good, they're going to pick up on that. All you're doing is showing that child what a bad relationship is.
Yeah, that was my parents. Scooch this way a little bit.
Okay.
There you go. That's good. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So you're hypnosis, lucid dreaming.
Yes.
Meditation.
Meditation.
What do? You do meditation?
Not consistently.
Yeah. It's never a consistent thing for me.
It's never, and I applaud the people that have like a whole like morning ritual, like you wake up and it's never been my thing. One, I'm not a morning person, period. So already being up in the morning at ungodly hours, I'm like, it's a lot. But I'm a really good communicator, so I have a really good relationship with God. We talk as if I'm talking to you.
Gotcha.
I don't do all the formalities, and like we talk. He knows my voice. I know his voice. I can hear him. So because of that, I may be communicating with him while I'm making my breakfast, or just like, "Whoo, what was that?" Like, what was that dream about? Like, what was that? It was a lot. We're communicating.
Yeah.
So because I have that type of communication, because and the knowing and the confirmations that will come from the knowings, because it's one thing to know something, but it's a whole other thing to be like, is this true for you? Because a lot of times my knowing involves knowing things about other people that they have not told me yet, or I wouldn't necessarily know because I don't know them like that.
Sure.
So when those things then become true, it's like, oh, I need to learn to listen to myself. I need to learn to, take that time. So I wouldn't say I'm like a good ritual, like meditations and this, that, and the third, but me and God, we be talking.
Yeah.
We communicate a lot.
That's good.
Even my good days, on my bad days. If I'm having a hard time, I'm like, "Ooh, Lord, you have to take that, because if I take it, if I answer that email, I won't have a job."
Right.
So and it's those types of communications I feel like has grounded me, because I'm able to hear at that point in time.
It's almost like your meditation.
It is. It really is. When I'm driving in the car, I would say for me, that's a meditation time because I'm not thinking as much.
Sure.
And I'm a big music person. Always been that way. I love a lot of different genres of music. But if I'm listening to calm music and just in the car, like I can feel my mind, lessening.
Yeah.
And I'm able to listen.
Yeah.
I would say I get a lot of the keyword like downloads or things in the car.
Yeah. I think a lot of people don't realize that there's so many different forms of meditation. It's just not sitting there. Right?
I can't do the sitting and like being quiet or like it. But you can catch me in the car. And I've done a lot of work in those 30 minutes or 40 minutes I've done to drive. Yeah. Or work through some things or thought about some things or had a conversation. Like, ooh, I'm feeling really overwhelmed or I'm nervous.
Right.
What's going on?
Yeah. I think my meditation comes through walking in nature and having my spa time at the gym, like the steam room, sauna, those kind of things. Because I can just sit there and just process.
And that's what it is. When you have that quiet time and you allow your mind to just stop doing all the other stuff and you're allowed to focus on yourself and be real with yourself. Yeah. Then you can have some true healing and some true growth and some true like vulnerable moments with yourself. Absolutely. That you then may have to tell your partner like, ooh, when I was mad about this is what was really going on for me. Yeah. Because the only way to communicate that to your partner is for you to be self-aware. Yeah. If you don't know why you're really mad or what's really upsetting you, then you can't communicate that out. So
very true. Yeah, that's one of my process of, like I told you, like of trying to break out and do all those healings and stuff like that. That's why I did all the meditation, hypnosis, astral projecting, and stuff like that. And even when I was 3 years ago, when I did a spiritual healing and with medicine. So I did DMT. Mushrooms.
Really? How was your experience
MDMA. With DMT? With DMT, it was interesting because that was my first time. And it was with a shaman. She's not really a shaman, but
like a
guided
guide. Okay.
Yeah, a guide, just to help you. But it was nice because a month prior, we would work on what's the question I want to answer. What's the root of whatever it is. And so for me, it was like, what is freedom? I don't know what freedom looks like. Big question. It is. It's interesting because like the week prior to my session, I was doing the astral projections, and the next folder that I was getting into was called freedom. I was like, oh,
alignment.
But yeah, did the DMT, and because it's only lasts like 5-10 minutes. I was in it for 20. But I think it's because I had my astral projecting training. I ended up astral projecting to my ancestors in the Amazon jungle. Wow. And it wasn't like seeing one person. I was in the village. I was seeing the huts, the common area, the big fireplace, people walking around, the kids running around. And they were all excited because I was there. And I was talking to the shaman in front of me of the tribe. And he was telling me that he was talking in his native tongue, but I could understand it. Yeah. He was telling me that everything is you. The trees, the water, the ground, everything is you. And then like a stone staircase popped up between us, and then it crumbled to the ground. And he was like, if things fall apart, that's okay because that's a part of you too. And then I went over to see the chief, which was this elderly lady, and by the fireplace, and she grabbed my cheeks and she's like, I'm so happy that you're here, you're welcome anytime, and stuff like that. And then we just kind of like celebrated the fact that I was there, dancing around the fire and stuff like that. So that was my DMT trip.
Wow, that's restorative.
Yeah,
it was a very restorative trip.
It was very nice. And then like it was a week long, so that was Monday, and then on Wednesday I did the shrooms, which I had a rebirth. And which was crazy because I did the most amount of shrooms that I've ever done. Wow. and it lasted 7 hours. She took 13 pages of notes because I was being very vocal throughout. I almost had a genie moment from Aladdin because I was hanging on. I was like, if I let go, I drop into the abyss. I don't know what's down there. Yeah. And she's like, it's okay to let go. And I was like, it's okay. And I was like, okay. And then woo. And I was like, whoa, we are like bouncing all around and stuff like that. And
Wow.
like it's hard to explain what happened in those 7 hours, but the gist of it is I experienced being a soul, like a pure soul, no body.
Just a pure
Yeah.
energy being.
Yeah. And in space. And everything that I imagined, it popped up. And I experienced what true freedom felt like. I was so happy. I was laughing for 5 hours straight uncontrollably.
Wow.
And it's insane because I experienced what freedom was, which meant that I experienced what true happiness felt like, which also meant what life is like after I die.
So to pivot that, so do you have fear of death?
After that, no.
No.
I now see everybody as two things, a soul and a body. And it changes my outlook on life, especially when I see somebody who's frustrated or going through things. I'm like, it's okay. It's your soul experiencing this.
There's a big thing about Earth. We're using it as a learning ground, as a way to learn these things and experience these things, because as a soul, you don't need to. But when you're in your earthly body, you experiencing all these heartbreaks and challenges and stresses and things to learn.
Yeah.
So
absolutely
interesting. That kind of the rebirth really kind of, and by you letting go, you really let the old version of you go and just it was, that's powerful.
It was 3 years ago, but I think about it every single day, every single time.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
That's really huge. So it's similar to, because I've heard of ayahuasca.
Yeah.
So it's very similar to kind of like that type of journey and thing. Okay.
Yeah, which I'm going to do next.
You're going to go to, well,
I don't know where I'm going to go.
Okay.
Because
I was going to say Costa Rica, because you hear, that's
hear
where a lot of people go for ayahuasca.
I'm not sure where. I mean, I talked to the person, the guided meditator, that was, and because she travels all over the world and does ayahuasca ceremonies.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And so, talking to her, eventually I'll do it. But yeah, something I want to experience because I'm always intrigued and learning about.
I mean, you've taken the leap. I mean, astral projecting, DMT, like hypnosis, like you've done a lot of the bigger steps.
Yeah. And the steps that a lot of people won't do. Yeah. The risk that people won't do.
Well, it's the fear of the unknown, and also the fact that you might actually see things. Whatever those things may be, not that they're bad but you're seeing beyond the veil. Yeah. And that's scary.
Yeah. And I think because of those first 24 years of my life, where I was dealing with all of that, restriction is what I call it, is why I love taking risk.
It sounds like you like jumped into it.
Yeah.
Where you're just like, okay.
I think sometimes it's important to jump into it.
100% agree.
Yeah.
But also recognizing that's not everyone's reality.
Sure. Yeah. And I understand that.
Like,
even though I'm like,
just take DMT. It's fine. Like,
right. Yeah. See what happens. I mean, they say like taking shrooms is like 10 years of therapy.
I have heard that.
So
I've never taken shrooms, so I don't know.
Right.
But I've heard that. I've heard that from people that have done it.
But it has to be in a way that's respectable to the medicine.
That's what I've also heard.
And it's not a party.
Yeah, like I've heard people doing party ways, but I've also heard of people that are like, no, and more of how you described it. Like it's a journey. Yeah. And I'm like, oh.
And then there's also that theory of that's how humans evolved, right? Because of the shrooms and electrons and connecting. And
and being able to kind of expand yourself. Yeah. Because what you've done is like expanded your mind. So now the possibilities are truly endless.
Yeah. And I look at life as I see a risk in front of me and I can't wait to jump it. Sometimes I have to like just sit there and wait. Right. Yeah. But eventually I'll jump. And I love that jump. That's a strong
place to be.
Yeah. That's probably why I skydived.
I mean, but like in the scheme of all the things that you've done, is skydiving really that scary?
No.
I feel like astral projecting would be a little bit more scary. DMT.
It's not that scary, honestly. It's
So, but it sounds to me even though you're taking risks, you're not performing in risky ways where you're just doing things without thought.
Correct. Yeah, there's always a thought behind it.
Yes, like, so I don't even know if I would call it you're doing risks. It's just you're doing the scary things, the uncomfortable things.
Yeah.
You're going in headfirst into it versus hesitating.
And I knew doing those uncomfortable things is what's going to make me a better person. And that's why I do it.
Because now, how do you feel? I mean, it seems to me like you're like a whole new person then from if I would have met you when you were 24 before that.
Oh, shit, yeah. Yeah, I would have been, I don't know how I would have been. I can't even remember.
So what's next on the spiritual journey? So you said ayahuasca.
Ayahuasca, you know, I have my moments of getting back into astral projecting and stuff like that. So it's never a consistent thing. I haven't done it in a while. But with the training that I've had and stuff like that, I feel like I can possibly, you know, go back into it easily. But yeah, my spiritual journey is always just growing and seeing what's next. It's never a set thing. It's always, let's experience life. And then when something comes out of it, then it's move on to the next thing.
So what if you have kids that also have the same want to explore the other side?
Yeah.
Are you ready to walk them through with you?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Hey, Dad, I want to try DMT.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, obviously when they're
maybe
a young adult, but
I don't recommend you do that with your toddler.
Right. Yeah. Oh my God.
But yeah.
That seems like a CIA experiment.
Probably was. We're probably being recorded just talking about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, because I mean, again, because that all stems into what your kids are seeing. They're seeing you approach a hard thing and just say, we're going to do it anyway, guys.
Yeah.
We're going to be uncomfortable. It's going to be a little scary, but we're going to do it.
And that's
such a powerful trait.
It is. I never want to restrict my kid from anything. So if they want to do something, as long as they're not hurting anybody.
Yes.
Or hurting themselves.
Right.
Then why not?
That's a powerful trait. That's a powerful learned trait to get from a parent.
Yeah.
To say, we're still jumping head first.
Yeah. I see all these parents, you know, they're like, they're instilling their fear in their kids. Like, don't do that. Yeah. Oh my God. You're going to fall. You're going to break yourself. You know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, as a mom, I sometimes fall into that because I don't want to go to anybody's emergency room.
Sure.
But yes. But I also try to take stock of what my fears are. So then it becomes, you have to be self-aware, you know, and where my fears come from. Because I would say sleepovers is a common thing. A lot of people are like, no sleepovers. I'm very much no sleepovers, but only because now as an adult, I know the realities of what that could entail and how that could lead a child to be exposed to things they don't need to be exposed to if they're not in a safe environment.
Okay.
Whereas when I was a child, I was like, why can't we do sleepovers? But now as an adult, I see it like, oh, absolutely not. I mean, you can come to my house, but
right.
I don't know. I'll let my kids go anywhere else.
Gotcha. Because it's okay. Gotcha.
Because
safety issue.
Safety, and also everyone's into their own thing. So what's normal in your household may not be normal for mine, or what you allow your kids to be exposed to may. Not that it's right or wrong. It's just that's not what we do over at my house.
Do you feel like that attachment is going to be brought back to your house? But right, that's the reason why.
It's more so I don't want my kids exposed to things too early in this world. Or, I mean, and just if you look at the rates of like sexual abuse and things, a lot of it would happen in more sleepover type environments with people they're comfortable with. So to prevent that or prevent any sort of, not to say we would ever put or be friends with or put our kids in a situation where it would be dangerous. Yeah. But to eliminate the opportunity for any sort of wayward or thing or exposure to things that they're too young to still understand. Yeah. I
understand about the, sexual assault.
Yeah. Yeah. Like that part, I'm just like clear.
But when it comes to like just behavioral things.
Could be behavioral because I mean, what is okay and acceptable for your household may be different in another's household. Yeah. Because not everybody's healed the same way. Not everybody's decided to take parenting on the same way. or, you know, they haven't healed their inner trauma. So their way of parenting their kids may be yelling and harsh words. I don't want my child to be, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Surrounded by that. But I think also as a parent, you have to do your job in teaching your child everybody's different. They go through different things, and this is how you handle differences in situations.
Yeah.
Because as much as I don't want to expose my children to things, I'm not all encompassing. They still have to go to school. They still have to do certain things. So I'm not going to be able to create a bubble around them, nor would I want to. I feel like I had a lot more shielding as a child. So when I took that launch into college, it was just like, whoa, this is a lot. Because I had a lot of bubbling, I guess.
Yeah.
So I'm not trying to do that per se, but I guess making sure my kids understand how to be in the world in a healthy and safe way.
Okay.
Without a bunch of shielding, I guess.
So do you feel that them learning that, the difference in people and stuff like that, has to come first before they can, you know, have sleepovers and stuff
I would
like
that too, or at least to have the words to know how to get themselves out of situations. So maybe it's never sleepovers is more so of an age where I know if help is needed, you have the utility and the tools and the aptitude to just do what needs to be done.
Okay.
You know?
Gotcha.
Because I think that's one of my biggest fears as a mom is not being able to help my children because they don't have the words yet.
Yeah.
You know, so then you very much want to shield them. You very much like, don't jump there, don't do this, don't do that. Because
that makes sense.
Because I don't have to tell that to a 15-year-old. They know if I jump on this, I'm gonna break something, and I don't have to do that. But a 2, 3, 4-year-old, they're moving off impulses. All of the things in their mind, they're like, what would happen if I just did this?
Yeah.
As an adult, we're like, well, we won't actually do that. A toddler is going to do that.
Yeah.
And so you quickly learn as a parent, okay, so my job is to make sure you're safe until you have the aptitude and the words to like help yourself. But you have to also have a balance there because you can't shield them too much. Because again, they're going to go off to school and go off to do different things, and they have to know enough about the world to be able to adapt.
Yeah.
And not be so shielded where they finally reach adulthood and they're like, whoa. And then they go off and do everything in the world because they don't know boundaries and balance. And all of that.
Like one of my friends that, you know, was shielded so much, and then she went wild.
She probably had a great freshman year.
But yeah, it's that whole balance, right? I feel parenting is a balance.
It is. And no one can tell you what that balance will be for you. Because you also have to take into account your own traumas, your own issues, your own things, because that's where your balance is.
Yeah.
And then you have a whole partner that has a whole life that you have to take into account their balance. So it's, parenting doesn't have a guidebook. Motherhood doesn't have a guidebook. Living this life doesn't have a guidebook. Right. So we're all just trying to figure it out. But my goal is to figure it out in such a way that my kids aren't like, I need to go talk to a therapist about my mama because she was doing a lot.
Right. Yeah. And I feel like, you know, I understand the people who say, you know, you put your child first and then you. Like, I get that mentality. Yeah, I'm not like a parent or anything, but but I also feel that if you're happy, then the child would be happy.
I say that all the time.
At the end of the day.
100%. I'm not one of those people that's going to tell you to pour everything into your child and leave nothing for yourself. Because if I don't have anything, then what am I teaching my child? What am I pouring into my child? Right. Stress, being burnt out, being frustrated, being overstimulated. So I'm always telling people, pour into yourself. If it's just a simple, go get your nails done, go take a walk around Target. It doesn't have to be like a whole shit to do. Yeah. Go get some Starbucks. If that's going to pour into your cup, do it. Yeah. Your kids will thank you for it.
Absolutely.
So I am not one of those give everything to your kid or put the kid before you. Like, I feel like it's a balance. Yeah. There's going to be times the kid's going to have to be before you because it's just age. But you have to also reinsert yourself forcibly back into that equation.
Yeah. Life is definitely a balance.
With everything.
Yeah. And sometimes like even learning how to, you know, communicate. And in those beginning years of learning all that, a lot of the times I had to cross the line in order to know where that line is.
That's being a toddler 101.
I was the toddler. Oh my God.
In a certain state. But you have to think, we didn't learn boundaries until we learned boundaries because we crossed it.
Right.
So
true.
literally by our parents teaching you not to cross this boundary because you crossed it. And what I've learned now with having toddlers is that is how they learn. They're not trying to inherently make you upset or do something just so out of the box where you're like, where did that come from?
Yeah.
It's just they need to learn boundaries.
Right.
Like literally learn that. Nobody, it's not intrinsic. Nobody has to teach. Somebody has to teach you that. So yeah.
What do you think about like gentle parenting and all that?
Ooh, child. See, gentle parenting is cute. It's a cute term that people use and it make you feel included. But I say you parent your child in the way they need to be parented. Every child is different. So what works for one will not necessarily work for the other.
Sure.
And if you are a burnt out, frustrated parent, you won't have the aptitude or the want to parent differently. You're just going to yell at everybody and hope for the best.
Yeah.
So I would say gentle parenting in theory, I see where we're coming from. We're trying to get away from the like just yelling and the hitting and the do as I say, don't ask me questions.
Yeah.
Don't question me parenting. And I agree with that. I would say the older my son gets, he's way more questioning of, well, why?
Oh, he's in the why stages.
Why? And the why can be very, because as an adult, I already know why I'm telling you this, but then have to repeat it to you. I'm like, oh, Lord.
Yeah.
But it's in the why is how he learns to be in the world. If he can understand, I'm telling you not to jump off the couch because then you're going to break your leg and then we're going to have to go to the emergency room and you won't be able to run and jump again. Then it's, oh, okay. But if I say, don't jump off the couch because I said not to, I'm not explaining the why. So he's like, why not? I'm just going to jump on the couch and see what happens. And then he's learning through lived experiences.
Right.
So you have to almost gentle parent in a say where you have to understand why you're doing things, but also you have to understand your triggers. You have to understand where your wounds are from your own parenting experience, because kids will trigger those wounds in ways that you didn't know were issues.
Yep.
And so the gentle parenting is parenting in therapy. That's the gentle parenting. It's parents healing those wounds and no longer putting that trauma on their kids.
And articulating it.
And having those tough conversations. Saying I'm sorry as a parent.
Oh, that's a big
Literally saying, "Ooh, my bad. I was frustrated. You was a little loud. Shouldn't have said that."
Never heard that.
And as simple, as easy as it is for me to say, just say I'm sorry. It's so hard to do. You know, it's hard to do when you know you're the one in the wrong. So for parents, again, we think about the older generation. I'm sorry just wasn't there. It just wasn't in the parenting book. They weren't talking about I'm sorry like we're talking about gentle parenting and saying I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It just wasn't. So now gentle parenting is saying you're sorry. It's saying, whew, I didn't do that right. I didn't win today at motherhood.
Goes back to your accountability.
It does. Yeah. And having to look your child in the face and say, ooh, I shouldn't have did that. I'm so sorry. And truly mean it. Like, I'm sorry, but also I'm not going to actively try to do that again.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
It's a lot because I mean, kids is kids. Yeah. They will have you overstimulated and outworked.
Yeah. I heard that kids really pay attention to the last thing that you say.
It is.
Like the last word, I think.
It's that lasting feeling. I mean, think to yourself when you were getting yelled at and your parents were angry with you, what was the last thing? You paid attention to how they dismissed you to go to your room, how they didn't give you a hug, how they didn't, come back and say, I'm sorry, or let's talk about it. Yeah. Or it was just, we're going to overlook that. Y'all hungry?
Yeah,
no,
like it didn't exist.
No, we just went through World War III in this house.
Yeah. Y'all hungry?
Are y'all hungry?
Right.
Y'all want to eat?
All right.
So we're not going to talk about that's the part that you need to pay attention to. So I know for us, me and my husband, we're good. We'll try to do a hug. We'll try to talk to them on their level. I get down, and I'm just like, okay, this is why I'm saying this to you. Yeah. I'm trying to help, or I'm trying to stop you from doing this. And, depending on mental level, they understand or they don't, but trying to break those, okay, we're just going to pretend we didn't just have a all out brawl in here and everybody was upset or yelling, or we're not going to try to leave you feeling like, that really hurt me when mom said that, but nobody came and gave me a hug, because that's what we wanted as a kid. I just wanted a hug. Yeah. After I did bad. I know I did bad.
I feel like that's a lot of people. That's like, I just wanted somebody to say I love you, or hey, good job.
good job. I support you.
Give me some praise.
Or like, hey, that was really stupid that you did that, but I still love you.
Right. Yeah, I think the first time I got praise was like when I was 21 or something like that.
And that's the thing we need to. That's what gentle parenting to me is no longer waiting until your child is 21 to get that validation.
Yeah.
You're doing it immediately. Like, whoo, really glad you did that. I'm really proud of you. Or that was a tough moment.
It instills confidence in them.
It does. And it makes them feel emotionally safe.
Right.
Emotionally, like, okay, I may mess up. I may do something horrible, but my mom's still going to love me.
Which makes them take more risk in life.
Take more risks, or when they get into a really bad space, they know they can still call you.
Yeah.
She may be mad at me. She may be upset, but she's still going to love me. She's still going to give me a hug. Don't make it, doesn't mean what I did was right.
Right.
But emotionally, we're not pulling away from our kids.
Yeah.
As a way to show them respect me, you know, as a way of discipline.
Right.
We're putting the emotions back in. So to me, that is what gentle parenting means.
Yeah.
Do we get it right all the time? Absolutely not. I'm human. We're all human.
Yeah. Yeah.
And sometimes, you know, it's not the gentle parenting that wins. Sometimes it's the like, we have 5 minutes and you are trying to do everything slow.
But as long as correct me if I'm wrong, but as long as the majority of it is you trying your best.
Trying. And if you feel like, oh, today wasn't a good day, just go up to your child. Hey, I am sorry if you felt like I wasn't good today. You know, I'm trying, you know, as your mom, but I love you a lot.
Yeah. Which is what you should do in a relationship anyways. Doesn't matter if it's kids or not. Right?
This also crosses over into your relationship. By all means, please.
Yeah.
Just a simple, like, you want a hug? Or just like, can I pat you on the back? Depending on where someone's at. But, you know, like, you have to be emotionally vulnerable. And that's something newer to this generation. I would say.
Yeah. Being vulnerable. I love being vulnerable.
I don't know if I would love it.
It's
but there's
scary.
power in it. Yeah.
But for some reason, I get a kick out of it.
Whew.
Of being scary like that. You know?
Well, that also speaks to your ability to kind of go up against uncomfortable things and just jump in. Because being vulnerable is one of the most uncomfortable things that people struggle with and why relationships fail. Because you just, instead of saying, you hurt me, I feel hurt, I feel scared, it's like you.
Ugh.
And it's never any like, the only reason I'm mad at you is because I'm feeling scared. Right. Or I'm a little hurt about the fight from last night. Or why did you say that? You know, and no one's having those types of conversations. And unfortunately, until you can have those conversations, you can't really grow in your relationship. You have to really be able to own it and be like, it hurt me when, and then da.
Yeah.
And that's really vulnerable.
It is.
To be like, I was hurt when you did that. And to allow them into that space.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Like,
and if not, then bye.
Then it probably is not your person.
Yeah. No matter how much it's going to hurt, it's probably not your person.
If you don't feel safe being vulnerable with someone, then that's a flag that you should not ignore.
Yeah. I think Sybil is making me realize how many things in relationships that have been in the past that I was like, she's okay with it. Oh, I don't have to restrict myself. Stuff like that.
If you're allowed to be your big full self in a relationship, you're on the right path. Yeah. That person is on the right path. If you're not shrinking at any point in time, even your bad stuff, if you don't feel like you need to shrink that part and you guys can work on it together, you're already on the right path.
There we go.
Because we're all humans. We all are. None of us are perfect. We all have things we have to work on. But you have to be willing to work on it together.
Yeah. And that's the show. Bada bing, bada boom.
Okay.
All right.